Hey y'all, happy Tuesday, and happy St. Patrick's Day. We had a super busy weekend out of town. Did lots of thrifting, hit a couple of estate sales and antique malls, and now we're back, and I've got to pack before this weather gets too bad. They're calling for some pretty nasty thunderstorms in our area. So now we'll start grabbing our orders that we actually packed yesterday on Monday. The first item going out is this Roll with the Tide throw pillow, and we picked this up at a thrift store. It's sold for $9.95. We paid 99 cents. Now that's my little wind blocker, little secret hack. Sometimes when it's a bit too windy outside, I'll slide that board across and kind of keep me and the stuff protected. Now we have some napkin rings going out, and I got these at a thrift store as well. Got a whole bag of like 4 or 5 different sets for a couple bucks. So I'm going to say I paid $1 for them. They sold for $10.36. Another thrift store item going out. You'd think I spent all my time in thrift stores. This is a one-piece figure, and I believe his name's Zorro, but I really don't know. And it's got this cool like animated motion feeling to him, but I think he's supposed to be holding some swords in his hands, and I don't know if they're supposed to be the ones from his belt. I don't think so. So sold him as is, paid $1.99. He sold for $19.95. Now you can see there I've got a little Revere measuring cup holding my thank you slips on my desk, but we actually sold one just like it. This will be the second one of those cups that we've sold, and obviously I have a third now to list, which I need to get that listing up so I can just sell similar off the one I already had listed. This cute little miniature Revere pot cost us $0.25 at an estate sale, and it sold for $9.95. Now this next item has got me all but convinced that the algorithm likes when you sell something if you have multiple quantities. We've had these cigarette labels for machines, vintage machines, in our store for months. We sold one finally last week, and then now we're selling another one again. Paid 50 cents, they sold for $14.95. It's like when your quantity dwindles or you make a sale on a certain item, it becomes more appealing to the next buyer. I'm almost positive of it because it happens way too often. Something sits and sits and sits, and then when somebody finally buys it, you sell multiples of that right after that. It happens a lot with my Pez. Now we have a Annalee doll going out, and for whatever reason, I am struggling to find it. We are looking for a girl holding a basket, and she is St. Patrick, so she should be in this bin. And I found her. She was laying on her side in the back, so that's why we didn't see her. So this cute little girl with her little basket, we paid $1 for. She sold for $14.95. Next up, we have a blanket going out, and this is something we've had in our store for quite some time, and it finally sold. Here, I'm going to unwrap it so you guys can actually see what it is. It's very soft. It is a kind of Chanel type fabric, really soft, Peter Rabbit embroidered, vintage Quiltex. Great for a crib or a nursery. Paid $1, it sold for $19. And now we are heading over to our media cabinet to grab media adjacent items. This is going to be a Case Logic carrying case for cassette tapes, and we grabbed this actually at the bins. It was packed full with some great cassettes, so I just took it as it was. So I figured I paid maybe $1 for the case itself by weight, and it ended up selling for $17.56, and we got a bunch of cassette tapes with it, which obviously that added to the weight, so they have their own cost of goods. Now we have some cookbooks going out, and this was a lot that I put together from an estate sale. These are like promotional cookbooks that would maybe come with an item or be advertising. You know, there's Hershey's and Pillsbury, things like that. Nice little vintage assortment. I paid about $1 for them at the estate sale for a whole lot, and they sold for $15.96. Now we have a sun catcher going out, and usually this box is only sun catchers, but I ended up moving some of my candle accessories over here, which is making it a little bit more difficult to find because there's so many sun catchers condensed. but the candle stuff was in a box with all of my napkin rings, and I started getting worried the like metal candle toppers clanking against the porcelain and ceramic napkin rings. Didn't want anything to break, so just had to dig a little bit more for this cute little turtle. We actually grabbed these at a highway sale and they only wanted $0.25 for it, so it sold for $6.77. Definitely worth $0.25. Now we've got to go past our wind wall to get to something, and we're gonna have to climb the ladder to grab one of these coffee cans. It's gonna be this Brim one here, which I really like because it's not a brand that I'm familiar with, and I really like the colors. Look, there's all my Annalise I still have to get listed. I have been working on the fall ones, so we are getting well ahead of schedule at this point. Fall and Halloween are inbound to the store. Just doing a few every day at this point because I don't have to rush to catch up to the holiday. Alright, so about this coffee can. I love that it still had the lid. This was an estate sale garage find and I paid 50 cents for it. It sold for $15.96. Now this next item is going to be the sale of this video, and it's definitely a bolo item. I recently made a short video showing you what fashion ads inside this Rolling Stone magazine looked like back in 1999. But what I didn't tell you is this is a really good magazine to find. Always worth knowing like the big brands like Rolling Stone, which ones sell for a lot. This Britney Spears one I paid $2 for. It sold for $49.95. I think somebody paying $50 for a magazine is a definite bolo. So if you're ever bored and sitting around, just look up well-known magazines and look up the comps, sort by highest to lowest, and you can kind of see which ones go for quite a bit of money. Somebody out there is definitely a Britney fan. Now we are looking for a necktie, and for whatever reason it is hiding from me, probably because I have way too many ties, and I just can't resist picking up novelty ties when I see them at estate sales or thrift stores. I probably should cut back, but I probably won't. Now we have this panda tie going out. Finally found it. It's made by Lost Kingdom. We paid 50 cents at an estate sale. It sold for $8.46. Alright, we gotta break the wind wall again. I recently moved my picture frames over here to make more space for Annalise, and the item I am looking for is definitely a small picture frame, so it's kind of tucked back here. There were no markings on this, so I'm assuming it's silver plated, but it's definitely got that silver look. Felt back, made in Hong Kong. Very cool item. Little desktop, mini, maybe 2 by 3 inch oval frame. And we don't need that hair going to the buyer. Whoops. And we added this picture to it. It's actually what I'm doing with that Sears and Roebuck catalog I have. It sold for $10.16. But the Sears Roebuck catalog that I had that was vintage, some of the pages were falling off of it. It's been in better shape. And so I decided to cut the little people out of it and add them to my picture frames for a little decoration. And I'm not just taking pictures of a blank piece of cardboard in the frame. Now we have a St. Patrick's Day mouse going out. Paid $1. It sold for $12.71. Thought that little guy with his flags was super cute, and I'm amazed St. Patrick's stuff is still selling. Technically just a couple days before, and I'm shipping it the day before St. Patrick's Day, and I'm making this video on St. Patrick's Day. Luck of the Irish to you all. Now we have a bins item going out. This is a hardback bird watching field guide that I found at the bins for 50 cents, and it is from 1941. Obviously you can see on the spine it has seen better days, but just a very cool piece. Got a bunch of bird watching books that day, and most of them were paperback and newer, so I lotted them up, but I listed this one separate, and it's been listed for quite some time. Don't have a whole lot of money on it, but kind of felt like it was worth selling on its own. We paid 50 cents. It sold for $5.95. It would have gotten much more if it was in better condition. Now we have a vintage office item going out. I guess I'm better say not office, more like school supplies. We found this at an estate sale on our way to Florida on the last trip. I loaded up at that estate sale, filled like 3 totes, and made bundle deals on everything. So I figure I have about 25 cents into this kind of space themed pencil case. It sold for $10.17. And heading back to the office little cubby here, we went to that estate sale, warehouse liquidation sale a couple weeks back, and it wasn't quite the deal that it was last year when we went, but I found a bunch of these vintage oil, Petroliana, gas pens and pencils. This one's a mechanical pencil, and for Dixie oil, we paid $1 a piece for every pen and pencil that we picked up from that sale, and this one paid for all of them that I bought. It sold for $14.95. Don't sleep on vintage gas stuff and vintage advertising. It may be a slow seller because it takes a very specific buyer, but the buyers are out there and they sell for good money. Now this was a bins find, and so obviously a little empty Cabbage Patch cereal box from 1983. Oh my gosh, it's as old as I am. Didn't pay much, only paid a nickel. It sold for $4.73. We've had it listed for a while. Now, all of this stuff is only half of what we sold. So we will be back shortly with another video so you can see the rest of what sold.